Hello, welcome back to Just for Today. I'm Jamal Normie.
Hey, I'm Miranda, the recovering addict.
And we're going to talk about the struggle, the raising kids, being sober and being
Addicted.
Within your addiction. First thing though, we got a scripture.
Today's scripture is Proverbs 29:15. The rod and correction lead to wisdom, but children out of control embarrass their mothers.
I mean, that's true all around. Like, ooh. And you know what? As I'm saying this, another scripture comes to my brain. Proverbs, a book of wisdom. So it's Proverbs 22:6. Raise up a child in the way they should grow, and when they're old, they should not depart from it.
I was going to pick that one. That's funny.
But you didn't.
Because this one relates more to my situation.
Your situation. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Raising kids is a struggle either way, especially these days. Gosh, things have changed. But yeah. So let's start off with you raised basically one kid completely in addiction.
It's so funny because it's like opposite, So I have a son, he's 18 now, and then I have a daughter who's 11 right now. And if we go back, like my addiction, I started using as a teenager, but like the hardcore using started like right after I had my son. So when he was a baby, that's when I got into my drug of choice, and and I've always hid it. It's always been undercover. So I've always been I was always using raising my son. So the first 4 or 5 years I was a single mom, and I used this drug to give me that confidence, that boost, that energy, all the wrong things to like make me be that good mom. And unfortunately, I was a good mom. It's hard. It's a struggle.
It's not unfortunate though. It's fortunate that you're. But I get what you're saying.
It's hard for me to accept, or it's still a struggle for me to say, because I am proud. I am so proud of how I raised my son, how I raised Isaac. And then that's where like the whole discipline coming in. Like I wasn't a mean mom. I wasn't like abusive. But I was just on top of it. And because I was young, I think me and him, we have a different relationship. Like we kind of like grew up together. But again, so my drug use was like always undercover. So, there's drug use and me being a teen mom, being young, raising my son. So like we kind of like grew up together. But so I was very open with him. I was very like, this is how it is, this is the real world. Whatever question, no matter how awkward it was, I just kept it real at a young age, I encouraged his questions. I encouraged his curiosity, and there was no awkwardness when he was growing up, going through puberty. We just kept it real, and it was just always like, you don't have a choice. You're going to college. He was, grounded all the time, but that was because, I was training him to be a good person. I remember at one point my mom and my sister were like, gosh, Miranda, he's always grounded. Granted, I didn't ground him for nothing. It was, when you mess up, you have consequences. But although there was always that conversation, you mess up, you go in timeout, you're grounded, let's have that conversation. This is what you did wrong. This is how you need to correct it. And, there was always that conversation. And so I had my daughter when Isaac was about 7. And I wasn't a single parent at that time. So let me backtrack. Isaac's dad was never really, he was in and out of the picture. He wasn't the best father figure. So I tried to control that situation. I did my best to like not expose him so much to his dad, but ironically, and how two-faced I was, I don't know what the word is, but like I'm over here doing drugs undercover, right? And then here I am trying to prevent that exposure on his dad's side. And so, you know, like how ignorant of me.
Yeah.
I felt like, I didn't feel like I was better. I never felt like I was better, but I just made it a point, like I didn't want to expose my children to that. So,
well, there's a level of perception. So you didn't seem like you were on drugs. So I mean, I get, not that it's any better, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So, you know, Isaac's dad was just, you know, in and out of the picture. He saw his dad, and, you know, it was hard, you know, not being able to control that situation. And, you know, I was always, my mom would always tell me, like, well, just wait, because my son always wanted to go over there. Because, of course, I have rules, I have guidelines, I have structure, you know. But over there, of course, when you go to the other parent, where there is no rules, there is no discipline, there is no structure, of course you want to go over there all the time. And so I remember my mom telling me, well, just wait till he gets older, he'll understand on his own, you know, he'll realize it. And unfortunately he did realize it, you know, as he got older, he did realize it, but that hurt even more for him to realize, he got to see his dad in active addiction. Even now, like he's witnessing what active addiction looks like, you know. But my side, you know, I was in active addiction, but he, you know, he didn't know. Yeah. He had no idea. But anyways, going back, so then once he was 7, I had my daughter, and, you know, her dad was, you know, we were together, you know, for a long time. And that's when, I don't know if it's because she's a girl and girls are different than boys. I don't know if it was because, you know, I was older, you know, I was like 25 at that time. I don't know if it was because I had that support of her dad, you know, like I didn't have to do everything, you know, I was able to like share the discipline and the responsibility. So I kind of like, I think that's kind of maybe what started the lack of my disciplining with her. I was just, you know, I would get frustrated easily, you know, and her dad would be, you know, the disciplinary, just, you know, she would listen to him, of course, and then you know, it became that I'm more lenient, and, you know, she listens to him. And I remember when she was little, even when we were together, like me and her, we would just always butt heads. At a young age, at 3-4 years old, you know, I remember it was just like a struggle. And her dad did his best, you know, to try to ease that frustration for me. So, you know, he took on a lot of responsibilities in disciplining her and raising her and whatnot. And then when Ariana was 8, that's when everything hit the fan. We broke up, we divorced, you know. At that time, my son found out, not through me, but other family members, about my addiction. That really affected Isaac a lot. You know, he was 15 at the time. He didn't take it too well because it didn't, for one, you know, I was hurt because it didn't come from me. The type of relationship that me and Isaac had, it should have came from me, and I would have talked to him about it. It just wasn't, you know, just because of how things happen, the opportunity wasn't there, just because of how quickly things were going on. So the way he found out and was exposed to it, he was hurt, and of course, you know, when you're 15, you know, he processed it very differently. So he became angry. I say angry, but he was hurt. He was heartbroken, you know, finding all this stuff out and forming his own opinions about me, you know, realizing a bunch of stuff. But with Ariana, she was, you know, there was not a lot of exposure to her because she was so young, so she really didn't know what was going on. She just knew that me and her dad weren't together anymore, and we're not, you know, we're separate houses and whatnot. And, you know, so that was when my recovery first started. And that first year, I struggled because, to an extent, it was, how do I say that? Like, Isaac didn't want anything to do with me. You know, Ariana was like going back and forth, and I didn't have like a stable foundation at that time. And I'm struggling with withdrawals and just going through the first stages of getting clean. You know, I was struggling big time, and a part of who I am is a mom. So I had a lot of struggles. I just felt so lost, so broken, so like alone, because I didn't have my children physically with me 24/7 like I'm used to, and maybe it was meant to be because, I just couldn't, I wasn't functioning right. I was like going through a lot, trying to sort out my demons and whatnot. So once the dust settled, right, I had a better foundation, talked a few things out with Isaac, and, I kind of like wheeled in the rope with him. And then, Ariana just, getting her on a normal schedule or some type of schedule, back and forth with me and her dad. So then there slowly started becoming stability. But because I felt guilty, because all my emotions were coming out, getting clean, you have so much emotions. That's when my parenting took a huge shift. So at that point, I started to, you just want to make your kids happy. Like, you feel so guilty. You feel like you did so wrong, like you just want to make them happy. And that's the wrong thing to do. You don't give your children what they want because you feel guilty, or that'll make them happy. That'll suppress their feeling. Like, that is
ever, regardless.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And so, but that, unfortunately, that's what I did. And so that, with Ariana and Isaac, I was doing that, not knowingly. I was just going through so much, And so then, as things progressed, as I got better, as, again, the dust settles or whatnot, my mind is clearing up, and him pointing out. And that's another thing. What was so hard is my whole life was just being a mom, and I was looking back, like I was good at it, like that. I take pride into how well I raised my kids, and the discipline and the learn everything. It was such a good thing. And then now, here I am, we're getting into a relationship, and he's not seeing that. Like, all he is seeing is a complete opposite of what you're supposed to do when you raise a kid. He's just seeing, well, at least that's coming from me, like, he's just seeing what you're not supposed to do, giving them what they want and not disciplining and, catering to them and just letting them get away with whatever they want. And so that put a little rift in us, because I'm over here struggling, trying to like get my sanity, trying to get my kids stable, and, I'm just giving them what they want. And so it was hard to hear it. I needed to hear it though, because I needed a reality check. Like, that's not how you're supposed to raise your kids, and so this was like in a time frame of, Ariana, she was like 8, 9, 10, and, so I just feel like there's an opposite right now of how I'm raising Ariana as to who I was with Isaac, because she's gotten away with so much. She thinks that that's normal. She thinks that that's okay, and so, yeah, I'm still struggling, or I'm still working on checking her, reeling her back in, and, letting her realize what's right and what's wrong. And I'm still working on, fixing that error that I did, during my recovery, trying to give her, catering to her because I felt guilty because she's going through whatever. And then now there's also, because her dad is still in the picture, which, I appreciate. I'm thankful that he is. Isaac never had that growing up, but Ariana does. So I'm not going to do anything until,
it's like opposites.
The complete opposite, And so, but I'm grateful that Ariana has her dad to, be involved, and he's a great supporting father. But there's a struggle because he might be doing the same thing that I did and doesn't realize it. There's certain things that I think that she gets away with over there because, that, he might be feeling guilty, or, so we still battle when it comes to that, like disagreements on, on raising her or whatnot. But for the most part, we agree on the same thing. But yeah, it's just total opposites, night and day, from raising, it's so funny because, raising Isaac completely on drugs the whole time, all day, every day. But, again, the excuse was, I went to work, bills were paid, they were fed, taught lessons, I encouraged, learning stuff, actively in sports, and then off of drugs, complete opposite. I'm over here giving them what they want, feeling bad, and not disciplining them or, being on top of it when I should. So it's just complete opposite, and I see the difference.
It's funny. Isn't it funny how the devil like blurs those lines? Like he makes. So Isaac is a really good kid, I should add. But look, you raised Isaac. He's a good kid. You were on drugs. Why you can keep doing this? He's doing great. And then. But in reality, you're on drugs, and you're damaging yourself and all the other stuff that comes along with it. Like people get stuck on the perception of things versus what is reality, all the time. And Isaac is a kid. It's funny though because like they are so different. Like it's like, how did this happen? Sometimes I'm like, because Isaac would say thank you, and he would he'd be polite about things, and he's not shy. I mean, granted, there's a boy and a girl, different DNA and things like this, but he would think about things, and I just feel like not that. I don't know. I don't know. I guess because he has the realism of life and things like that. Like he's not better than Ariana. He just seems like he's further ahead.
He's more mature. And I think that had to do with how young we both were. And I made it a point when he was younger. I didn't want him to turn out like shy, introverted. I didn't want him to like have all my issues, the issues that I knew when I was little. So I made sure, no, go make friends. No, you treat everybody equal. Like, I just tried so hard. And again, let's backtrack the whole my using. I specifically started to use drugs because I didn't have that confidence. So it was that false confidence that I said, well, I need the drugs to be a better mom because I have to do this, So it's like, it's stupid, but like I use the drugs to like motivate me to put in all of that work that I knew I needed to raise him right,
It gave you a level of energy, also false energy and things like that.
I'm just and I still struggle because, and I'm just being honest, I still struggle because I know the difference on mentally where I'm at with raising Isaac versus raising Ariana, and it's like, like I want that for her, but it's just, I'm gonna go into excuses or whatever, but the drugs, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
False, but.
Yeah, definitely put up a false thing. And then even still, it's like, so I've never had kids, but I think like you can raise kids if you have a logical way of looking at things. And plus my mom, was she abusive? She was strict, but I mean, I'm thankful for it now, because you set that foundation first. Once you have that good foundation, you can stand on it and everything else. It's so hard to redo a foundation. You have to break everything down and then start over. Like you try to do patchwork and it's just, you're eventually gonna fall. Like you have to start over. So from kids, we learn, but. And that's why sometimes to me, it was kind of like frustrating because it's like, what in the world is going on? Like yelling? What kid yells at their parent? Like my mom would kill me. I don't even yell at my mom now when I'm a grown man. It's like, and just things. We'll go to, that's be a whole other video because this will go on forever.
Yeah.
But I can see the struggle. I know it's a struggle.
Yeah.
I know
and it's a struggle whether you're on drugs or not.
Yeah,
just
kids.
I always my main comment to my patients at work, or or people in general, like I always joke, like if I would have known they turned into teenagers, I would have second guessed having kids. And then you hear other parents like, oh, my kids are great, like they didn't have a problem. So with or without drugs, like it's a big deal to raise kids, to raise human beings, and teaching them how to be a proper member to the society.
Like even adults can even be, but I guess it starts when you're a kid and then you grow into it. Foundation.
And the fact that you don't have kids, there's some differences in how I see things and he sees things. Like you chose to not have kids because you say this world is just so negative, damaged, or whatnot. You don't, and I get it. You don't want to raise kids in this world. And I chose to have kids, so that's a complete opposite. So sometimes I get this, I get into my feelings that like, there's just certain things that you don't understand, or you never will understand because you're not a parent, so sometimes it's not so cut and dry the way you might think so, because there is an emotional attachment when you have children. There's a different like understanding or whatnot.
There is, but they're still cut and dry. Yeah. But just because I don't have kids does not mean they're still cut and dry. They're still, anybody that was a kid can parent if you have logic. You can read, and all you need is the Bible. Just read the Bible, read Psalms, and you'll get a good idea on things. There's a cut and dry to things. It's just, I don't have as much of emotional attachment. I wasn't there when she was born, or him or her. I didn't grow up with them. And there's a level of, I'm used to dealing with adults, right? So everyone I talk to is here already, and then you have kids and then they're here. So there is a level of, needing to adjust as well. But there's also, I know how we were raised, and how we turned out, it's like with that, between that, sometimes there's somewhere where we have to meet to figure things out. There's a big adjustment when you're getting in a situation like this. We'll do this. That's a whole other video though that we have to do on that. But yeah, there's 100% adjustments. And anytime you get in a relationship in general, especially if there's kids, there's gonna be adjustments. It's never what you think it's gonna be. I don't care who you are. Like there's
and the fact that my kids were already older, it's not like we're getting into a relationship like, oh, this is your stepdad, he's gonna raise you now. So it's not, our dynamic isn't like that at all. It's which is, it's good.
And then you have, one of them has a dad that's in the picture, so that's awkward. And then it's, there's so many levels to it that it's not.
You're just a supporting adult figure in their life.
Yeah. So. But yeah, it's another video we'll have to do on that, because I'm going all day on that. That's all the time we have for today. Leave us a comment below. Are you in recovery and you're in a similar situation? Are you wondering how you can do this? You don't even have to be in recovery to not understand or to have questions about raising kids. It's just, that's a loaded question. Leave us a comment below. This could be the first step in the start of a long conversation. But for now, just remember to like, share, subscribe, do all the things, but most importantly, keep coming back.
Stay clean.
Bye.
Sit. $29.15. But children, 25. Nope. Proverbs 29:15. The rod and discipline leads to, no. Correction lead to wisdom. What was that?
You drink some water first.
I drink water all day and I still get, lead to wisdom. No, that's not it.
I guess my dad. Oh no. Go ahead and put that on vibrate.
I forgot my train of thought now.
Why would you? It wasn't that long. Yeah.
Sit. Lay down. All the way. Stop.
What do you mean stop?
Raz, sit.
You guys got to, I don't even know what commands you guys are giving him. Now sit. Lay down. Lay down. Sit down. Sit. You're such a baby. Oh my gosh. What happened?
You taking notes of all these things that you say we're gonna do in another video? Because I think you said that like 5 times.
All right, well, that's all the time for. Oh.
We just did this last week. How come you don't have it memorized? And we did it the week before that. How come you don't have it memorized? Pretty sure we did 4 weeks in a row.
But this could be a first start. I do need to memorize this. Be the first start in a conversation. Why I keep saying the same thing? Oh, this could be the first step.